Well, having been an independent political commentator for now 15 years, I was about to say 14, but we're in a new year. For now 15 years, there's very little left that shocks me, but I have to admit I was rather shocked this week. Rebekah Barnett is no stranger to the Aussie Why. She's a regular contributor of ours and does incredible public interest journalism. And one of her pieces last week actually genuinely shocked me, and I invited Rebekah on to talk us through it because, Rebekah, firstly, props to you. I consider this to be one of the most outstanding pieces of public interest journalism that I've seen in quite a long time. So let me start with that. Can you talk us through? You've blown the lid on just exactly how taxpayer money is being used to fund advertising, to fund the sales of big pharma products, and how they manipulate the media. Talk us through what you've got here.
Yeah, so look, I've just touched on two of the ways that Big Pharma harnesses public money and news media to sell their products. So in Australia, Big Pharma isn't allowed to advertise directly to the public if it's a vaccine or if it's a prescription medication, but that doesn't let them stop them from, just forging ahead with other avenues. So the first one I discussed is that you just lobby the government to recommend your product. And if you can get them to mandate it, even better. And we had that here in Australia. And then you can wrangle the government into spending public funds to advertise the products on your behalf. So there is news article after news article online. You can just Google Australian government spending COVID vaccine advertising, something like that. And you can see, so we've got 20.9 million spent on advertising COVID vaccines. If we go down further, you can see one of the campaigns, advertising agency got a $1.8 million contract. You can see you go a bit further down in this Substack that I've done that it actually advertising executives were urging the government to it says dial up the fear on COVID because that would get them more advertising campaigns to sell the solution to the fear, which of course is more vaccines. And the Arm Yourself Against COVID-19 campaign, which was just one of many, was a $41 million campaign. So that's all funded by us. But it's not only that advertisements that are funded by us. We pay for the vaccines too.
Yeah, can I just pause you there? Because this wasn't the part that shocked me. The part that shocked me is coming up in a moment, but I want to pause on this. There are restrictions that restrict the government from using public money inappropriately as well. So, for example, I can't use it for party purposes to try and get re-elected or these sorts of things. So we have a ban on the one hand of pharmaceutical products being directly marketed to consumers in Australia. We have a ban on political parties using tax money to promote themselves. And yet somehow both parties have managed to find a way around this, as you say, with pharmaceutical companies just lobbying the government to make their products mandatory and then, of course, doing public awareness campaigns. And that's how the government gets around these restrictions. In reality, around Australia, multiple hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money is spent federally or at a state level every single year advertising to you and I, our money being spent so that they can advertise to us, and they always couch it as a public service announcement. And that's what we're seeing here, hundreds of millions of dollars a year, billions over our lifetimes, of course, being spent to market to us. But that's not the most shocking thing you found.
No. So the other day, just before Christmas, actually, I was scrolling and I came across an article that said it was titled "Festive Warning as Poll Reveals Lacks COVID-19 Attitudes." And it was a story about how there'd been a poll and everyone was just slacking off with their vaccines. And everyone should be worried about that. So what did this reveal? Okay, this revealed farmers' technique for getting news media to market their products to us. So there's 4 steps. It's very simple. Step 1, Pharma pays for market research. So that's usually just in the form of a poll. So someone called 1,000 people. You get a polling company to do it. Say, have you had a vax? Are you wearing a mask? And from that poll, they gather, oh, gee, not many people are vaxxing anymore. Not many people are masking. Okay, so that's step 1. They just pay for the market research. Very cheap, not a big deal. Then you move on to number 2, they craft that into a press release, and that press release would say, new research shows not very many people are taking this seriously, and with the threat of COVID, this is a concern. the farmer then circulates that to news syndicators. And having previously worked in marketing myself, I've written these press releases. I've seen a million of them. It's always, just like research says, here's our product solution. That's how you do PR when you are selling a product. And then the news syndicator just lightly edits the press release, and then they publish that as news. So ideally for a news syndicator, they don't want to have to do too much to it. They just want to, move it around a bit, maybe throw a few expert quotes in. And then the news syndicator syndicates out to all the local news.
Yeah.
And this same article then gets published all around the country as local news. And what do you think it says? It says, oh, we have a problem. COVID's not going away, but everyone's stopped vaccinating. Oh, gee, we better everyone go and get your vaccination before Christmas. And that's news at the local news level. So it's marketing in disguise as local news.
Now, the reason this shocked
Very
me,
clever.
it's incredibly clever. The reason this shocked me is because I've missed it up until now. And now that I see it, I can't believe that this has been sitting right in, because how many times have I Googled a topic and there's a dozen articles that have similar headlines? It's happened over and over again. And I've never actually, I assumed they were syndicating. I assumed, obviously I understand how the news business works, but I'd never made that connection that all it takes is for them to spend a mediocre amount of money in the context of their budgets, in the context of what our market is worth to them. This is a tiny amount of money on a polling company to ring 1,000 people. I just want to walk people through the steps. If you can't see these screenshots, by the way, you're going to need to go to Rebekah Barnett's Substack. We will put the link to that in the description of this video. It is well worth your time, not just for this article, but for so many others as well. But it's so simple. They pay for the market research. They draft up a press release based on that research. You've got all the receipts in your Substack of the dates when everything happened. The Australian Associated Press, in this particular case, although this happens all the time, picks it up, lightly edits it, and releases that as news. And then that gets picked up by so many other companies, so many other news outlets, particularly local ones. Sorry, the computer's just taking a second to catch up with me there.
And they're not even changing the photos. They're just using the same headline, same photo, so.
At this point, they are literally just the market. Well, they're just the marketing arm for whoever emails them a press release at this point. This isn't journalism.
Yeah, and that is, that's how PR and marketing works when you're selling products. I used to work in a product-based business, and if you need to up your sales, there's lots of different ways you can do that. You can do ad spend on social media, or you can do grassroots marketing, or one of the things that I used to do, just at an organic level, was craft a press release and pitch your local news with ideas, because they're not, local news journalists are always accepting pitches for ideas. So this is just that organic process, like on a mass scale, kind of just very homogenized. And it just is a lovely loophole to get around the problem of not being able to directly advertise to the public.
Well, as you say, this is relatively business as usual, but using it to specifically sidestep legislation that is designed to stop you from doing exactly that, that's a concern. Well, Rebekah Barnett, once again, I tip my hat to you. I'm shocked, but I'm simultaneously shocked that I'm shocked. I can't believe I never noticed this. I never spotted this myself. I feel a little embarrassed, if I'm honest, but thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I will never quite see the news in the same way now that I understand what I'm looking for these sorts of tricks. Thank you so much once again. You're always amazing. I love the work that you do. We'll put the link to your Substack in the description of this video. Rebekah Barnett, thank you so much.
Thanks, Topher.